Echo starts his gatherings into the zone. Score! Echo wins it, and the Sun Devils make it 18.
Welcome into Hell Frozen Over this week. Austin Controls alongside Nick Marek. I'm replacing Trey Lanthier for the week as he decided to take the week off, go home during fall break. So it's me and Nick. I'm glad to be back here on the Hell Frozen Over set. Haven't gotten to do a show this year.
I know, but good to have you on. I mean, Trey, hey, he's going to bail us, go back home. We might as well start replacing him, right?
Hey, he's done a good job, though, so you can't bag on him too much. ASU took on Lindenwood, number 6 Lindenwood, I should say. This past weekend, Nick, they did something they haven't done in school history. That's get a sweep over this Lindenwood Lion team. Last year, they got the first win against Lindenwood in program history. That was a big step. This year, they take it another step, and they get the sweep. How big was that for this program?
Well, I mean, the sweep was huge. If you're just looking for a program moving forward, if you want to be the team that's going to eventually make up to number 1 in the rankings, have that chance for a national championship contending team, you have to start with the small weekends. It's going to come down to Lindenwood. They were 6th ranked coming in. Will they be 6th ranked leaving? Probably not, because the Sun Devils took care of business. So it's all about when they meet those opponents with the higher rankings, showing up, being able to step up their game, pulling out the big wins. And one of those was on Friday. It was a scare for the Sun Devils team. This is the first time. It was all over the place. Up by 2, tied, down by 2, tied, up by 1. Eventually pulling up the 6-5 victory. That was something that kind of was the catalyst for this team going forward. Now they could say, hey, if we're ever faced with more adversity down the road, we know how to handle it.
Yeah, it's the second time they've actually come back in a game. It was 2 games in a row as they did it on their road trip to Iowa State. The second game, they had to come back and win it. They did it against Lindenwood. They should have never been in that position, though. Coach Powers talked about that killer instinct, stepping on the opponent's throat. And we didn't see that the first game, but that second game, they seemed to clean it up. They made their adjustments, and they had a much more solid game and a much more solid win as a team.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at from top down, the whole team kind of performed better, and especially with that transition as a team when you're mentioning from Friday to Saturday was almost like we saw a difference between a C team and an A team. Just the way they changed the mentality, they locked down things offensively, special teams a lot more productive. We mentioned they were 2 for 6 on the power play and 2 for 6 on the penalty kill on Friday. Completely turn around on going into the Saturday game when those numbers, they actually scored a power play goal. No Lindenwood power play goals given up in the one. So just getting more sound offensively and kind of working that transition from the weekend series was something that really did help them put it on a new level.
You talk about the defense. They seemed to play a lot better in the second game. That definitely helped out goaltender Corey Frank, but we saw both Joe Delia and Corey Frank this weekend. Both had different games. I mean, Joe was he had a defense that wasn't really there for him at all times. He was on the penalty kill a lot. With the penalty kill unit, and the special teams was out there a lot more on Friday than it was on Saturday, so that did hurt him, and that's why you saw the big numbers there. Corey Frank, though, had a very solid game as well on Saturday. You have 2 goaltenders who were just solid in net. You also have Kyle Dietrich, who's been talked about. I mean, he didn't lose a game in D2 last year, so you basically have 3 goaltenders who Coach Powers can put there any night. What do you do now?
Well, for starters, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kyle make his way into the lineup this weekend against San Diego State. Since it is a Division II opponent, he was undefeated against the Division II opponents last year, so why not go with the hot glove, so to speak, and keep Kyle in net? But if you look at Joe, the team came out really sluggish on Friday, which I don't know where that came from. It wasn't anything they were showing that during practice that week. And it was just kind of a slow performance. They couldn't get their legs going. They came out hot to start, but then just kind of eased off slowly, and that allowed Lindenwood to come back in the game. And that really struggled with Joe Dealey. He had to kind of face that and being like, the team's not out there performing the best they can. I know they've done better at practice, so he was facing different shots. And Corey Frank was able to just step up with a stronger team, stronger performance all around, which is why he did do better. He faced more shots. I believe it was 32 total for him it was. So he stopped 29 of 32. Joe was 18 of the 23. So shot total is roughly even. It'll be interesting to see down the line how the goaltending shapes up.
Well, ASU did get the sweep. They move on. They're now sitting at the number 2 position in the ACHA rankings. We don't expect them to move up or jump Ohio because Ohio did win against Oklahoma. They actually swept Oklahoma with the overtime win in that second game this past weekend. So ASU probably going to stay at number 2. Now, they have number 3 Minot State sitting right behind them, and Minot State has had a very tough schedule to start this year. They play 2 very good opponents coming up. Is there a possibility that Minot State jumps ASU in the rankings after this week?
Well, just given the schedule they have coming up this weekend, they're taking the Michigan trip that ASU took last year, as they're going to take on Adrian and then also Oakland. They're playing Adrian first So those would be 2 games on Thursday and Sunday, and then Oklahoma in the middle of that. So if you can beat 4 games against the number 6 and number 5 team, you have a very strong case of being able to jump the number 2 Sun Devils. They are currently number 3. They're only a couple points back in the rankings of passing the Maroon and Gold. So if they get 4 quality wins on the road in Michigan against those top 10 teams, they have a darn good case to jump ASU.
Well, ASU playing the D2 team, San Diego State, so not really a high opponent where you can say that the strength of schedule is there right now, but they have played Iowa State.
Yes.
They just took care of Lindenwood. Lindenwood's going to be a very good program. It's just a matter of finding the way to click, and Lindenwood's had a very rough start schedule-wise as well to start the season. Another game to note, obviously number 19, Arizona. Down south, taking on number 1, Ohio. If the Wildcats could pull off an upset, ASU could stay at number 2. They could bump up to number 1. Minot State could bump up to number 1. Who knows? The rankings could be everywhere.
There's some great games in the ACHA this weekend, though.
So we'll see where that takes us, and we'll see how it all works out this next weekend. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have an interview with head coach Greg Powers. You're watching Hell Frozen Over, brought to you by the WCSN.
Tacos?
Nah. Burgers?
Yesterday.
Right.
I'm thinking
Mongolian.
Looking for a fresh, healthy alternative? Take a trip to Genghis Grill. Spice up your favorite meats and seafood, then load up on veggies. Choose a sauce and let our Genghis Grill masters cook your selection to perfection. Genghis Grill, masters of Mongolian stir fry.
Hey, go vegetarian.
Chicken. Me too.
Welcome back to Hell Frozen Over. Head coach Greg Powers joining us now. And coach, you guys did something you haven't done at all in program history. That's sweep the Lindenwood Lions. What does that say about this team?
Well, we're excited about it. You know, Lindenwood's a very good hockey team. Again, they always are, and they will be for the foreseeable future. They were good. You know, their record is not indicative of how good they are. They're still a top 5 team in our league, in my opinion. So getting a win against them, 2 tough games, it speaks highly about where we are as a program and where our guys' heads are at right now with this season.
And for the viewers who don't know, on the Friday game was a 6-5 Arizona State victory. On Saturday, a little different story, a stronger team at 5-3 win. So, Coach, what adjustments did you guys make between the Friday and Saturday games? Just kind of lock down on how well you guys were playing.
Yeah, we made a lot of adjustments. On Friday, we just couldn't have an answer for them in transition, and they're always, every year, everyone knows about Lindenwood. They're very good in transition. There's not a team in our league that goes from defense to offense quicker and more effectively than Lindenwood does. So they're very good at that. And we made some adjustments on Saturday morning. Coach Blassie and I got together for a few hours and clipped a bunch of film and brought the guys in early and showed them what we wanted to do. And we were able to slow them down in transition, which really helped our cause on Saturday. It eliminated more odd man rushes and just made it a much cleaner game on our part in every zone. And so we were happy that we were able to make some adjustments. I think our penalty kill did a much more effective job on Saturday than they did on Friday, and we're happy. You know, you get 2 wins against that team, and no matter how you get them, you got to be happy with them.
What did you guys do when you changed the lines? How comfortable were you on Saturday with the line adjustments you made coming from the Iowa State weekend?
Well, you know, the lines were really good. I mean, you know, the Heckel, McGinty, and Collins line was by far our best line this weekend. And that's a change that we made after Iowa State, so we're happy with that. The Norris, Delinsky, McAuliffe line was not so good on Friday, but they were good on Saturday, and that line's not going anywhere. Liam's a little bit banged up right now, but nothing too serious. I think we're going to sit him out this weekend. But that line, and right now our top 6 is pretty solidified, and now we're working on getting the chemistry going on that 3rd and 4th line, and we'll do that. It's still early, but I'm going to make an asserted effort to really keep those top 6 together, and I think we found the combinations, and it only took us 7 games, so we're happy about that.
Coach, this is the first series you haven't had Brett Preckle. He was out with a torn ACL. Where did you see his impact lost on this series?
It's a huge loss. It's a huge loss just from a depth standpoint. At the Friday night game at Iowa State, he was playing with Hex and Kahn, and they were our best line on the ice, and that probably would have stuck and helped us, spread out our depth across the top 9. But Prex is just a great guy in the locker room. He's a senior. He's a guy that everyone in our room would take a bullet for, and it's heartbreaking that he had to go out like this. But he'll still be a big part of what we're doing and be around. And who knows, maybe he'll heal up and be back for the end of the year.
So going off your leadership kind of like stand there with Preckle, how do you feel the veterans did this past weekend as they've kind of lit up the stat sheet, really carried it? It was Jancy and Heckel were the first 4 goals. They were the reason the first 4 goals were scored in the game against Lindenwood. So can you comment a little bit on how they were able to step up?
Yeah, really good weekend from the vets, and we have such a good deep team. And like I was saying earlier, you know, the rookies are going to have their nights where they shine. You know, we're that good, you know, from a youth standpoint. You know, our freshmen and sophomores are going to have games where they take over and take care of business. But, you know, the Heckles and McAuliffes and Dolinskis and those guys and the Jancys, you know, those guys can be depended on. They've been through just about every situation during their tenure here. They've been to national tournaments. They've played very tough teams and a tough schedule regularly, and that's what building the program's all about. And that's what this core has been through, and the core that are now junior and seniors, they can show those young guys the way when they're struggling a little bit like they were on Friday, and they got it done. So really happy with our vets. They stepped up huge, and it's what we expect out of them.
Coach, you've talked about it all season long. You have 3 really solid goalies. We saw you do the same thing you did against Iowa State, where you went with Delia Friday, Frank Saturday. I mean, both of them played very well. Different games, obviously, with both goalies. But what did you see out of both of them? And is that a statement having both of them start, or is that a confidence?
No, I'm still, you know, long term, I'm still a 1 goalie, you know, guy. I'm not going to go off and on. And I felt like Friday night Joe didn't have a bad game, but I feel like Joe can play better, and I feel like Corey can play better Saturday, you know, than he did Saturday. So, you know, I don't think, you know, I'm not there yet, but yeah, I can honestly say if National started tomorrow, Joe would still be our guy. He's a hell of a goalie, and he's worked on some things this week, and he'll be shored up and ready to go. But again, he didn't play poorly, and neither did Corey. But I think we can get better games out of both of them than what we saw this weekend.
And then one final question. You know, San Diego State coming up. Obviously, it's a D2 team. You guys expect to win, but it's a good time for you guys to work on some things on the ice. What do you expect to see from the team this weekend?
You know, it just like I said before we left practice here today, it doesn't matter who we're playing. San Diego State's a good hockey team. They're a D2 team, but they're a lot better than what we saw in Texas A&M. So, you know, if we were to come and take them lightly and not show up, then they have the ability to make us pay. So we'll be ready for them. We're going to treat them like we do any other opponent, and we'll go from there.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have an interview with Brian Parson. You're watching Hell Frozen Over, brought to you by the WCSN. Welcome back to Hell Frozen Over. Austin Controls alongside Nick Marek. We have assistant captain, defenseman Brian Parson joining us now. And Brian, you guys did something you've never done in program history this past weekend, and that was sweep the Lindenwood Lions. How'd that feel, and what was that like as a team?
Well, it felt great, man. We've been year after year, especially being my 4th year here, we've been pushing, getting new guys in, and finally I think we got the group of guys that could really do it this year, and sweeping Lindenwood was a huge for us.
What do you feel about the line change that coach made after the Iowa State weekend coming into it? Do you feel like you guys were clicking a little better?
Yeah, Powers is, it's still early in the season, and we're still trying to build chemistry with all the lines. Our defense pairs are pretty much set in stone, and the forwards are just about there. So Powers has been doing a great job.
So no concern with the shuffling on D when we saw Blomgren and Ritchie had different pairings when Kyle Hughes came in an extra.
Yeah, the lineup this year is just really competitive to get into, and Powers is doing what he can to get all the guys in the lineup and get everyone a chance to see what they can do out there.
So last year you guys split with Lindenwood. It was the first win in program history against them. This year you guys sweep them. What do you think the difference was? Is it the personnel on the team, or is it just different chemistry?
Well, we've been working really hard in practice, and we definitely got a group of guys in that locker that are all on the same page, and everyone's willing to do the little things it takes to win games.
What adjustments did you guys make after that first game against Lindenwood, and especially team struggled a little bit early, but the second game completely turned it around? Was there something that coach told you guys, just different mentality?
In that first game, I think we came out a little bit too cocky, and we weren't taking care of our defensive end. We were kind of running around like a bunch of raccoons out there. But yeah, we came back Saturday just willing to do the little things right and not make any selfish plays out there.
It seems like this season so far it's been a lot about the newcomers. They've seemed to really step up. Jordan Young, Stephen Collins, he did it this past weekend. But against Lindenwood, we did see more of the veterans. We saw Jancy get 2 goals. Colin Heckel had 5 points. Cale Galinsky had 4 points, all in assists. What do you think the difference was? Was it just the veterans stepping up when they really needed to?
Don't get me wrong, the freshmen have been helping out great. Powers has done a great job recruiting year after year, and it's big games like against Lindenwood where the guys that have the experience and been in the league for a few years know how to step up and get the job done.
Can you comment a little bit on the goaltending from the defensive end on what it's like working with both Joe and Corey? Do they have different styles for you that you have to adjust to? Is there anything that one asks that the other one doesn't?
I mean, really one's a lefty, one's a righty. That's the only difference I can tell, but their game preparation is a little different. Joe's a little more serious and focused, and Corey's a little more loose before the games, but I don't know. They're both doing a great job back there. Now,
you mentioned the goalies, and when we saw both of them this past week, and is there one that you think has the advantage, or they both just seem like they're solid in net?
It's hard to tell. I mean, we got a great group of guys this year, and from the D to the forwards, even the goaltending, anyone can play top to bottom.
Well, that's going to do it for us here with Brian Parson on Hell Frozen Over. When we come back, we're going to look ahead at the San Diego State Series. You're watching Hell Frozen Over, brought to you by WCSN.
Imagine what it feels like to be a champion. To have sold-out crowds every game. To know that night in and night out, your team is the best.
1-0 pitch, swung on in this loop into shallow right field. That'll drop, and the Sun Devils have won it!
We all want to win, but are you willing to do what it takes to get there? Are you willing to make a year-round commitment to being a Sun Devil? Will you be there for us every game, helping us win? Make a difference by joining the Sun Devil Club. It's one thing to be there when history is made, but wouldn't it be great to know you helped make history? One devil at a time, we all join the club.
Welcome back to Hell Frozen Over. We're going to touch a little bit on San Diego State team, the D2 team coming in here, taking on ASU twice this weekend. We know it's not a big matchup. We know it probably won't be that close, Nick, but it is a series that, you know, these D2 teams, it seems like always one a year finds a way to creep up on this Sun Devil team in a game, try to keep it close maybe for a period or two. But we know that it's probably going to be a blowout. What does this matchup do for the Sun Devils?
Well, for San Diego State, they're probably looking at this as maybe being a small trap game for them. And hey, it's a chance for us to prove against the number 2 team in Division I of why we're one of the best in D2. San Diego State is a very strong Division II team, but it's a chance for the Sun Devils to go out there and really push forward and see where the season's going to take them. If they have any issues on the ice, it's kind of making those minor changes, focusing on the specialty teams. That was something they did in the Saturday game, but really one game's not going to be able to tell you what's going to happen the rest of the season. Also, you're going to have the 3 goaltenders we mentioned in the previous segment on how you're going to handle that. I mean, just kind of focusing on the small things, making sure everything's in tune, the line chemistry staying strong. Coach has good communication between the players, and the Sun Devils should have no problem getting the job done this weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned the 3 goalies. I think it'll also give a chance for the rest of this ASU roster to see some ice time. We haven't seen everyone yet.
Yes.
It's a very deep team, this Sun Devil team, and so we might see some guys like Phil Sansone. We might see some of the younger recruits who haven't seen much ice yet. Maybe they've been on there a little bit, but I think this is a time where they can actually get the start. They can see a lot of ice time, and it's a good way for them to get their legs underneath them as well.
One of the great things we want to jump in to mention is Corey Chisholm was one of them, where he stepped in with Dan Anderson out the first game, and then Dan Sterna, so apparently it was an absence of Dan this weekend. He stepped up, got 2 assists, and this is the first homestand he's had He got a chance to play on the road against Iowa State, but playing in front of a home crowd, completely different territory. And against number 6, again, just kind of like reiterating your point of this is where the young guys could step up and really prove themselves. And Chisholm was one who did against the number 6 team in the nation.
Yeah, so we'll see what these young guys can do come this week against San Diego State. You can catch those games on fasthockey.com. Nick Marek will be on the call. Friday's game is going to be at 8, Saturday's game at 7. That's all Arizona time, so make sure to tune in. That's going to do it for us here on Hell Frozen Over. For Nick Marek, I'm Austin Controls. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.